Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Oleksandr Syrsky stated that the enemy offensive on Sumy and Kharkiv regions, which Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had previously spoken about, has actually already begun. He said this in an interview with LB, "I can say that the president is absolutely right, and this offensive has actually already begun. Because for several days, almost a week, we have seen an almost doubling of the number of offensive actions by the enemy in all main directions," Syrsky noted, commenting on President Volodymyr Zelensky's interview with Le Figaro that Russia is preparing for a new offensive in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. In particular, Syrsky explained that Russia's strategic goals remain unchanged. The enemy seeks to seize as much Ukrainian territory as possible and destroy the Ukrainian defense forces. He adheres to those goals or tries to fulfill those tasks that were set for him. And they are not going to stop, apparently, added the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to him, despite international negotiations, the intensity of hostilities is only increasing. In his comments to journalists, the commander noted that the enemy has almost doubled the number of offensive actions in these directions, which has been recorded for several days. Despite all the ongoing negotiations, we observe only an increase in the intensity of offensive actions, he explained. The Commander-in-Chief noted that the enemy wants to create a buffer zone in Kharkiv, Sumy and Chernihiv regions, and the mobilization resource of the Russians is about 5 million people, and in general, 20 million. Earlier, media reported that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Putin was trying to buy time and was preparing for a spring offensive in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. According to him, the Russian dictator planned to launch this operation 8 months ago, but the Ukrainian armed forces prevented him thanks to their intervention in Kursk.
As of early April, the Russian occupation army had accumulated more than 1,000 missiles. However, according to military and political observer Alexander Kovalenko, the Russian Federation is selective in its missile attacks due to the significant wear and tear of the missile carriers. According to his data, today Russia produces 50 to 60 units of Kh-101/555, 30 to 45 units of the 3M14 caliber, 13 units of the 9M723 Iskander OTRK, 15 to 30 units of the 9M728 Iskander K OTRK, and 4 to 5 units of the Kh-47M2 Kinzhal per month. According to Kovalenko, as of the beginning of April, and taking into account the latest strikes on Ukraine, the Russian Federation had at its disposal more than 250 Kh-101/555 units, more than 500 calibers, approximately 110 Iskander M units, approximately 280 Iskander Ks, and 75 Kinzhals. As the observer emphasizes, the occupiers have accumulated enough Kh-101/555 and caliber missiles to systematically terrorize Ukraine with strikes, but this is not happening. He explained that one of the reasons is that the main carriers of these missiles are very worn out, and their more frequent use could lead to a catastrophe. Therefore, combat sorties of the Tu-95Ms are not carried out every week, but once a month. At the same time, these aircraft are equipped with a limited combat set, not the full capability according to their performance characteristics, 8 missiles per side. Secondly, the efficiency of using the Kh-101 and ZM14 is much lower than that of the ballistic 9M723. The probability of intercepting subsonic cruise missiles of our air defense is much higher than in the case of the 9M723, which can only be intercepted by the Patriot and SAMP-T air defense systems. The latter can be counted on the fingers of one hand, the expert said. He noted that while the Kh-101 and 3M14 missiles can be shot down even by a mobile fire group from a portable anti-aircraft system, the 9M723 Iskander is elusive for most Ukrainian air defense systems. Here is the conclusion. Launch 20 Kh-101 missiles, costing more than $100 million, and with a high probability of losing 80%, 90%, or all 100%, or launch a 9M723 Iskander at an area where there are no Patriot or SAMP-T air defense systems and have a 99% probability of a strike. The analyst emphasized. He suggests that this is precisely the reason why the Russian Federation is now stockpiling Kh-101 and 3M14 missiles, while the 9M723 is being consumed non-stop, turning this missile into the main instrument of terror. Soldiers of the Russian occupation army are looking for ways to avoid a new crossing of the Dnieper River in the Kherson region. This was reported on the Telegram channel of the military movement of Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars, Atesh. Its agents found out that the Russian command has already ordered the invaders to prepare watercraft and get ready to move personnel and equipment. However, the Russians have not forgotten that at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, such assaults led to significant losses. Units of the 28th Motorized Rifle Regiment of the Russian Armed Forces lost up to 90% of their personnel in unsuccessful operations. Everyone understands that the situation has not changed and such an order is a one-way street. Therefore, many are trying to avoid sending in any way possible, in particular, deliberately breaking boats and equipment. As is known, Russian troops have repeatedly attempted to force the Dnieper River in the Kherson region in order to create a bridgehead for a further offensive on the right bank part of the region. Earlier, Atesh reported on the mass death of occupiers during exercises on forcing water obstacles. It was noted that Russian commanders do not even try to save them. Soldiers in full gear are loaded into a boat and driven at full speed along the Dnieper, as a result of which many fall out and drown. The commanders do not even try to save them. The invaders are then sent in small groups of 2 or 3 people to storm the islands, throwing them ashore without cover or normal evacuation. During the process of sending such groups, one commander said, "Well, now your party will end and they will bring the next one," the report says. In early December, the Southern Defense Forces recorded that the Russians had concentrated about 300 boats in the Kherson region. According to the military, the invaders are storming every day, trying to gain a foothold in the island zone. It cannot be said that this is some serious threat. For an offensive, it is necessary to transport military equipment. For this, it is necessary to equip a crossing, have some means, and 300 boats, 5 attack aircraft, will be placed on each. How will they try out those crossings? Representative of the Southern Defense Forces, Vladislav Voloshin, said. Voloshin emphasized that Ukrainian troops are keeping this area under fire control. According to him, the occupiers are carrying out several assault actions daily in the Dnieper direction. The enemy is trying to at least cling to the island zone. Every day there are about 5 to 7 assaults, all unsuccessful. They end in losses in personnel and watercraft, he noted.